Okay, so I have my new layer I just created called Inside Body and or Base Color 2. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on by clicking the eye. Now you can see it. Now my layer is just a really, well, you haven't actually done anything yet. What I want you to do is pick up the next color you're going to use, which is going to, make sure you go to background first, select your color, go back up to Inside Body or Base Color 2, take your paintbrush, and go ahead and paint that color on top of the old color. Now, right now I have a different color that's being painted on because these color selections aren't exactly the same as the ones I picked the first time around. What's important to note about Inside Body 2 is that it's on normal, but I turned the opacity down. So base color was multiply with opacity all the way up. Inside Body is normal because we want the color to be lighter. If I left it on multiply, I'll change it to multiply, you'll see it's dark. Even though the actual color I'm painting with is lighter than this color, when multiply makes things darker because it stacks them. So you want it to be on normal to make sure the color maintains, it keeps its original color. But the way you can keep it from destroying your lines or looking funny is turning the opacity down. If I turn the opacity down all the way, the color will actually go invisible. So this controls how visible the color is. I'm going to turn it up to 70%. Okay, so let's go over what we got. We got Inside Body, which is my third layer that I've created. We have basic color, and we have background. Next up, we're going to create a layer for the nose. So I'm going to make sure Inside Body is selected. I'm going to create a new layer by clicking this button. I'm going to call it Nose Dark. And then I'm going to click OK. If I was creating it, but again, I already have it created. Here it is, Nose Dark. I'm going to turn it on so you can see it, what I did. Basically, I just went back down to background. I selected my eyedropper tool, picked up the color I wanted, went back to Nose Dark, and painted it in. Nose Dark is on multiply at 100%. Okay, so you have your nose colored in. Now all you need to do is go to Nose Dark, make sure it's highlighted. Create a new layer, call it Nose Light. This is going to be your second nose color. And what we're going to do for this is I'm going to go ahead and turn on the layer so you can see I picked a lighter color. So you're going to have to go to the reference, turn on the reference again, pick up a lighter color, make sure it's selected, use your eyedropper tool here, pick that lighter color, then go back down to Nose Light. Nose Light, whenever you make a light layer, like Inside Body was the lighter color, or, just a minute, I need to turn this off. Inside Body, this area here, is a lighter color, so it's on normal. Okay, Nose Light is a lighter color, so it's on normal. And actually, I left the opacity all the way up on this one, but you can choose to turn it down if you like. It's an artistic opinion. Just remember that changing the opacity changes how visible that color is on that layer. So I'm on Nose Light right now. I have Nose Light selected. I colored in a shape that sort of matches the nose, that shows where a highlight is, and I'm done for now. So I'm going to go ahead and go on and create a new layer. The next layer I'll create, make sure Nose Light is selected. Click Create New Layer called Eye Color. Okay. And click OK. And turn it on. I'm going to turn mine on because I already have it done. Again, if you don't have the eye color, go to your reference. You can zoom in by selecting the zoom tool here, or by pressing Z on your keyboard. Zoom in a couple times. Make sure it's selected, the layer. Get your eyedropper tool and pick a color for the eye. Now that you have your color, scroll down, click Eye Color. Make sure this layer is turned off so you can see. You can press space on the keyboard. That'll allow you to move the drawing around. So, but I'm already here. But if you just press space, that'll put it there, and you'll be able to drag your drawing all around. See, just like this. So just hold down the space, and you'll be able to move it around. So go ahead and fill in your eye color, and then we're ready to move on. You can press Z to switch back to your zoom button, and if I hold Control, it'll allow me to zoom out. So I have the zoom tool selected, and I'm holding Control. That allows me to zoom out easily. One tip for your brush: if you go down to brush down here in the tools, when brush is selected, and switch it to a fuzzy brush or a soft brush, you'll get better results when mixing colors. Okay, so that's handy. I pretty much always draw with a soft brush. I'll show you the difference. A soft brush looks like this, where a hard brush, looks like this. So for mixing colors, if I was going to try to mix a couple of different colors, the soft brush works better because you have that soft edge, and it allows you to lap and connect colors more fluidly without these hard, rigid edges. So I would, if you haven't already, go down to your paintbrush, click here, click soft brush. Okay, so back to what we were doing. We're on the eye layer. The eyes are done. And we're going to go up to light. We're going to have eye layer selected. Click new layer, just create a new layer, and go ahead and just call it light. Because this is going to be where the light is coming from. So click OK. And I'm going to turn my light layer on, and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so for the light layer, what you do is I'm actually going to switch this to black and white, my two colors, just by clicking these small boxes here. I have my paintbrush selected, and I'm actually going to, on my light layer, make sure your light layer is selected that you just created. Turn the opacity down to around 70% and switch the mode to soft light. Whenever you do a light layer that's going to affect every shape on your drawing, always switch it to, you can do soft light works the best. So that's what I always use. So I have it on soft light, and the opacity, if I turn it all the way up, you'll see it looks a little bit too bright. I don't quite want it that strong, so the opacity changes how visible it is. So I'm going to turn the light down so it's not quite as bright, right there. Alright, so then after you've done that, you can just take your paintbrush, switch the color to white. You have the opacity down, you're on soft light, now you can just draw on light. And you see this is an example of, I'm not using the soft brush, and so you have these hard edges, but I'm going to go ahead and Control Undo, switch to my soft brush, and then paint it on again, and now it's softer, it looks like it's actually falling on him, and it's a nice clean color falling on Sid. So there you go. So after you have, once you're happy with the basic shape, you can take the eraser, and once you take the eraser and just go back and clean up the edges using the eraser, you can push back the lines a little bit, change the shape, get it to where it looks right. It looks like the light was actually wrapping around the shape of his head. And also you can add light to the nose, some more light to the nose if you want. This is an example. I put a little white dot here. I'll switch to my paintbrush. All the settings are right. It's on opacity is down. It's on soft light. I'll make my paintbrush really small, and I'll just click a couple times in here until it looks good. I like the way it looks, so I'm not going to mess with it anymore. Okay, so we have our light finished. We're going to make sure light layer is selected. Go down to create new layer. We're going to call it shadow. Click OK. Make sure all of these layers have been transparent. Make sure your settings are transparent. So once you've created it, I'm going to turn my shadow layer on. Go ahead and select it. Now the shadow is a little bit tricky. It's a little different from the light layer. By the way, if you've changed layers, say shadow selected, and you try to move the screen around, it won't work. It's just going to turn the layer on and off. Because I haven't actually clicked in here yet. I just switched layers, but I haven't clicked in here yet. So this is still highlighted, and spacebar turns the eye on and off. So I'm going to click in here. Now spacebar moves around the drawing. So now the tricky thing about shadow is you do want the shadow layer to be a multiplier. Remember, your light layers that use light, are either going to be normal, or the mode is either going to be normal or soft light. Layers that are darker or base colors are going to be multiplied. So we're going to scroll back up. We're on my shadow layer. It's set to multiply, and look at this. I'm using black as my shadow. That's at 100%. It just doesn't look good. So we're going to keep turning it down till it looks what I think is good, which is right around, I think, 30, somewhere in the 30s. 35% looks good to me. Now the shadow isn't too dark, and you can just keep playing with it till you can get the shadows as high contrast as you want. But I'm going to leave it right about there. Alright, so we're almost finished with our Sid drawing, with our Sid painting. I'm going to click Shadow, create New Layer, And instead of calling it, what I'm going to call it is eye detail. So I'm going to go ahead and add some last details to the eyes to give them some life, because right now they just have a color. Oh, and one other point, on the shadow layer, I did shadow part of the eyeball, and on the light layer, I did add some light here. So that can be important that you touch those areas with shadow, because they are affected by light. Okay, so I just created my eye detail layer. I'm going to just turn it on, and I'll show you what I did. Actually, I won't even turn it on so I can show you. Make sure eye detail is selected. Okay, and zoom in by clicking Z on your keyboard, which will give you your zoom tool. Zoom in on the eye, and then, actually, I'm going to make a new layer so I can show you exactly what I did. I have my paintbrush, black, selected. Make sure black selected. Now, your eye detail layer is just going to be normal. Nothing fancy about it. You don't need to change any of the modes or the opacity. Put a black dot in, just like that, just by clicking a couple times. Switch to white. Pick a smaller paintbrush size by changing the scale here. And then draw a white circle in the eye to give it some sheen. Show that there's reflection. Okay? I'm going to move the picture over by holding space. Using space to get the picture over. Switching back to black. I'm going to drop in the pupil again. Here it is. Now I'm going to switch over to white by clicking this arrow, which will switch my color. Click a few times, and there you go. Now Z, pressing Z to zoom, holding control. Holding control allows me to zoom out. And there we go. There's our drawing with the eyes. Alright, and that's actually it. The only last thing I would do, if you want, select your eye layer, and create a new layer, and call it teeth. Click OK or cancel. I'm going to go cancel since I already have it. I'm going to turn my teeth layer on so you can see. All I did was went into white, and I picked a very, changed my color to sort of a yellow, picked a very off sort of white, not very strong, and just gave the teeth a little color, because teeth aren't ever perfectly white. But you can't even really see it that well right now, but I mean, whatever. So this is it. I have two basic body colors, two shades, one shade, one lighting effect, one shade effect, and two body colors with a little bit of eye detail. And that's it. It took about 10-15 minutes to complete this drawing. So it's a quick way and a fun way to color your pictures, and it's an effective way. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you need any help, don't hesitate to post or ask any questions.